Okay, so I wanted to go over the ratios. Now, the ratios can be a little bit of a struggle when you're first learning this stuff, but uh, it's a very useful tool. So I'm going to use dataset 3-1, which is the example in the textbook. Now, you're going to have to do homework using the other datasets, so don't use the same dataset to do your homework. But this is just to explain. So first of all, you need to know what your ratios are. So there's a couple of websites, I've written them down. These are good websites for students to learn. Accounting Coach and Investopedia. You know, professionals usually don't use these, but if you're while you're a student trying to find information out, if you don't understand what a receivable is, if you don't understand what a current ratio is, or what the current assets or current liabilities, those are two websites that can give you a quick overview of that, because it really is important that you know what a current asset is if you're going to be using it in a ratio. Makes life a lot easier. So the formula for current ratio, which should be provided for you in the textbook, but you can also find it in the websites that provide it, is current assets divided by current liabilities. So those current assets and liabilities are both in the balance sheet. So here's your current assets here, these, and here's your current liabilities, these. So we need to take all of these together, add it up, and divide by all of those. So if we go over here and you just hit equals, and then if you go over here, you can hit any cell you want, and if you hit enter again, it just gives you, whatever is in that cell, right? But we need to add those up. So let's hit equals, and then I'll go to the balance sheet. And you could use a formula like sum and sum these cells up, or you can just hit that and then hit the plus sign, and hit this, and then hit the plus sign, and then hit this, and then hit the plus sign, and then hit this. Now, at this point, we want to divide that by the current liability. So I'll put a parentheses around this. So that tells the formula to first add these up, then divide, then let's open the parentheses again, and then hit plus, plus, and then since we hit plus again, I know it's outside of my cell, just close the parentheses, and then when you hit enter, it should give us the formula that we want. So there you go. Let's see what happened with this. So it doesn't equal the same thing, so I said, well, what did I do wrong? So I just paused it there and looked at my formula, and I see that I added up C7, 8, 9, and 11, and over here I need to add up C7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, so I accidentally missed 10. So, what you can do is you can actually go into the middle of the cell or at the end, and then you can just go into that part, go to C10, and then I need to put a plus here, and then now when I hit enter, it worked out. So that was a little troubleshooting that we did together. The quick ratio is pretty useful too. You have to know the formula for it. So I'm going to pause it and write down so that it shortens my video a little. So I paused the video and I did the receivable turnover. If I said another one, I'm sorry. The quick ratio, by the way, is very similar to the current ratio. It's just kind of an offshoot of the current ratio. So it just very similar to it. Instead of using all the current assets, it only uses select current assets. But again, you can find that, which accounts to use. Either that hopefully the text has everything you need, but you can also find these ratios in various other sources. So the receivable turnover ratio takes the sales. Now, sales is on the income statement, right? So we want to take that number, and then the average accounts receivable means average of 2 years. So we want to go to the accounts receivable, which is on the balance sheet, and we want to average these 2 years. Now, one thing you might notice, and I don't have it in my, I unfortunately forgot to pull the this down low enough to see in here. I don't know if I can let me see if I can adjust it. No, I can't adjust it, but if you highlight, the receivables or any numbers, if you go down below the screen, if you look on yours, you'll see the average is already provided for you as well as the sum. So it actually gives you a little bit of quick information. We want to average these two, so that means we want to add these two together and divide by 2. Add them together and divide by 2. So let's see if we can get this to work. So I'll hit equal, and I'll go over to the income statement. I'll get the sales, right? Now I want to divide that, so I'll hit the divide the slash, right? And then I want to do an average. So I'm going to hit open parentheses. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit the accounts receivable. I want to hit the plus. I'll hit the accounts receivable for next year. And then I'll divide by 2. And I want to do this entire action, right, first. I want to add these two together and divide by 2. So I'm going to put another parentheses here, which means it's telling me I have a typo, which means I need to have a, which means I need to have a parentheses here. So I just hit F2 and I went in and adjusted the formula. I was trying to do it when I was creating the formula, but sometimes you have to kind of go in and adjust the formula afterwards if you don't hit the keys exactly right, and that's fine. That's kind of a good thing to do, is just to be able to adjust the formulas if they're not exactly right. So then once I hit equals, it by doing all the bottom part first and then finding out what the average is and then taking the sales and dividing it by that average, I got the right number. Otherwise, what happens is it's going to first add these up, then divide that by that, and then divide by 2, and that wasn't going to work, as you saw. So we need to make sure that we use the right parentheses in our equations so that the order of operations is in the correct process. So again, basically, if you can do these two, you're right on the verge of getting all the other ones. You just need to know what the formulas are and how to apply them. The textbook does give you the exact formulas to use, exact cells to use for these example data sets, but we need to also be able to use different data sets, because that's what's going to happen. Now, one more quick thing. Here's a quick way to take off these zeros. So you can just hit that. If you go up here, you can hit this right here, and I'll take away some of those zeros. Another way to do it is to right click and hit format cells. A couple of things you might find useful. All right, good luck.